But what I want to share is some of the experiences that I've had in my career that have led me to MOO and why I'm here at the moment. So this is my grandfather. He was the entrepreneur in the family. He set up a supermarket chain. That's when you used to serve. Remember Open All Hours with Ronnie Barker? Right, that was the type of thing that this was. I spent time in Unilever. I spent some time doing consulting work in Deloitte, working for Pepsi and really working on the big brands. I lived in the States with Pepsi, in the US, in New York, and then I got some experience of the whole tech world that was going on. So I joined Dell, ran Dell's UK and Irish business for Small and Home, which is about $1.5 billion worth of business, and then joined a tech buyout rather than a turnaround, which ended up being a turnaround, called Riverdeep. I then, after doing that for 2 or 3 years, came back and got involved in a company called Video Island as chief executive, and there's a company that we merged together, that I pulled companies together to create a company called lovefilm.com that I hope many of you have been part of. So I was the chief executive of that business for 7 years and ultimately led the sale of that business to Amazon for an undisclosed fee that I'm not allowed to talk about no matter how much wine you give me. But it was incredibly successful. I then, as part of that deal, worked in Amazon for a year as part of the transition. Towards the end of that year, I had my first child. And my first child made me go into mother care a lot and made me try and understand what was going on. And actually, I had a very poor experience. And I went online and had an equally poor, if not worse, experience of mother care. And I just heard that actually the chief executive spot had become vacant, and it was a public company. And so I went in and became the chief executive of Mothercare for 2 years to lead the turnaround. And I recently left there because, you know what, at the end of the day, I missed a lot of the tech startup stuff that was going on and all the stuff that you're doing. I have been shocked that within a period of 2.5 years since I started work at Mothercare, the buzz, the vibe, the opportunity that there now is for startups in London and in the rest of the UK, I think is as good as I've ever seen it in all of my career. So I think it's a really exciting place to be. Now, what's really interesting is that as I came out of Mothercare, I was actually a mentor to Richard Ross at MOO, and I've been mentoring for about 4 or 5 years. And we built a close relationship. I got to understand the business, and it was actually a natural extension ultimately for me to become chairman of the board of that company. So actually, if you think about some of the mentor relationships you have, those are relationships that you can use in many, many different ways other than asking for advice for a period of time. And Richard really has done a first-class job. But if I look at my career, which has been I've been very fortunate in it and very lucky, to use Peter's point earlier. See where I put a cross here? Those are jobs I have actually secured because I knew people and I used my network. So if you think about the network that you have and what you're building up, all of these jobs opportunities, most of my career has come about through opportunities from people that I've met, people that I've known, and people that I've spoken to. So never underestimate where certain points of your network will actually become useful for you. So let's do a quick summary on MOO. It's one of the fastest growing print businesses in the world. It's over $45 million revenue and growing at 50% a year and carrying on that 50% growth rate. It's over 5 million customers served in the last 3 years alone. Strong international mix, 60% of sales are in the US. Only 20% of sales are in the UK. How many people have MOO business cards or know of MOO business cards? Right, so we've got about a 30% penetration. I'm expecting by the end of the evening to at least have 80% penetration of this particular market. But not only is it leading in products in the printed sense, it's also leading in products in the online sense. So it acquired a business called flavors.me about 2 years ago that is about building websites. So it's helping people and businesses in their own identity outside of business cards as it's moving forward. Now, what are the common themes for businesses that I look at going forward? And I think this is exactly what your investors, your angels, are going to be looking at in the future too. And they are basically, does your business solve a customer problem? If you do not have a clearly articulated customer problem that the business that you are working on or leading or thinking of founding doesn't solve a problem, you know what? It's not going to get traction. It's not going to be talked about. It's not going to be on Pinterest. It's not going to be on, all these other sites. It's actually going to fail. And if you can do that with technology that is in a way that other people haven't considered it to add value, then you'll do it. Love Film was a business that half the cost of film rental in the UK and gave people 10 times the choice they had when they went to a video store. Right? And there were no late fees. So it's dead easy to work through. You need to be able to address a large and growing market. And increasingly that needs to be global. If you want to be a successful startup, if you want to attract interest, then actually you need to be able to work through a global marketplace and offer your services. Now, starting off in one market like the UK is no bad thing, but what is the size of the opportunity? Everybody talks about billion-dollar businesses only being created in the US. Since 2003, according to a GP Bullhound report, there were 57 $1 billion tech startups that were in the US. Over that same period, there were 50 created in Europe. Right? The gap is much closer than people realized. We have the capability in Europe and specifically in the UK to build billion-dollar businesses. And don't lose sight of how big you can make your business become and how international. You need a clear opportunity to disrupt, to differentiate, whether it's design-led, focus that comes through MOO, whether it's about film rental that comes in Love Film. I call these, what are your strategic differentiators? If you don't know what are the things that are going to make your business different and sustainably different, then the competition are going to come and get you. Right? Interesting point on the bottom. Halo, your days are numbered from Uber, right? You know, that there's always going to be competitors coming along, right? Chasing you and chasing your tail. You need strong management. You need to hire the best possible team you can have. Right? One of the interesting things that when I worked in Dell, in speaking to Michael Dell, what was his one mantra that he had was that first division people recruit first division people. Second division people recruit third division people. Right? So you have to ensure that your bar is absolutely as high as you can possibly make it whenever you're out there in what you do. And then finally, who are your investors? How big are they? Are they the right brand? Are they the right investors that will actually enable you to grow? And do they have deep enough pockets to scale with you? Which basically means, at the end of the day, cash wins through. How you invest and grow your customer base, cash is really important for you. So don't just think P&L, think balance sheet. Right? That's really important for you as a business you grow.